All right. We're just going to go ahead and get started because I don't know how else to start it. Danielle starts it like, welcome to the Big Money Stylist podcast, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I've listened to it enough. I should at least have that much down. I have April. Oh, I'm Sarah, in case you guys didn't know. This is going to be a real fun podcast, you guys. Okay. This is April. I don't know how to say your last name. Fedora?
Fedora, yeah.
I always just want to say like Fedora just because it like sounds cool. And then I'm like, I know for certain that that's not it. So why don't you just go ahead and tell me a little bit about you? How did you get into, how long have you been doing hair? We'll just start there.
I've been doing hair for 15 years.
Oh. When did you start? 2007-ish?
Yeah, I don't know dates.
Same.
It's always like, I was kind of this age.
Yeah.
So that was like 15 years ago.
Okay. Do you feel old when people ask you how long you've been doing hair?
Yeah.
I was an assistant for my sister-in-law, and people would be like, oh, how long have you done hair? And she goes, 15 years. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, I'm never going to be that lady. I would sound like an old lady, and now I'm like 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you've been doing hair for 15 years. How long have you been doing MBR?
Well, I graduated last April, but before I was in the academy for a year and a half, so about 2.5 years.
So you started, like mid-pandemic or before then?
Yeah, I think it was like the first or second online class.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you sign up for the academy? Were you doing podcasts? Were you following somebody? Did you have MBR?
Well, so I started like doing just another beaded extension method, and it was bulky and I didn't like it. And so I just started.
How's the chair?
Blame it on the chair. I just started like looking for a better, more customizable method. And my salon owner was actually like, there's this gal and her and her husband do it together. They like created this company. You should check them out. And I was like, nah.
That sounds weird.
And then one day I started listening to the podcast, and I was like, oh, maybe.
You're like, these people sound weird enough for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, yes, I'm from Oregon, and we're kind of like a hippie, weird, we follow the beat of our own drum kind of people.
Right.
So
Those are my kind of people.
I'm my own vibe.
Yes. Can that be today's title? I'm my own vibe. Well, I write it, so I'm going to title it that.
Yes.
So, good thing. Okay, so when you just saw it and you listened to the podcast and then you're like, I think this is for me, like what made you make the initial jump to be like, okay, because I mean, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a big investment. And what made you be like, okay, I got this, sink or swim?
I think that I am just like a sink or swim kind of person. So what attracted me was it's like maybe the most technical of the methods out there.
Yeah.
But the results were outstanding. And so I just was like, this is kind of like getting your master's.
Yeah.
Like if I was going back to college and I wanted to make more money in my job, I would go and get my master's degree and I would continue my education. And so I started just looking at it like that. Like I'm just going to continue my education, invest in myself.
Well, because how many stylists do you know that are like, oh yeah, no, I went to hair school, I'm good. Like, or I went to this one class this one day and now I'm I'm a balayage specialist or whatever. And half the time, no one can even say balayage. They're like, balayage, like, you know, you're
balayage.
Like, yeah. But like, they often think like, oh, I'm good, I went to school, when every other profession, I feel like, is like, okay, I need more school to become like a professional, right?
Yeah, most licenses actually make you do continuing education, and in my state, they don't. And so, there's no continuing education necessary. So we kind of can get a little lackadaisical in our
those hippies,
just gonna be over here meditating and
they're like
whatnot.
la la la, pretty hair.
But I definitely think that it's really important to, if you want to continue, I think the hard part is when you work for yourself, how do you make more money? How do you continue? How do you get better at your craft? You're in charge of that.
Yeah.
So I needed help. I needed motivation, but I knew I wanted to go to the next level.
Mm-hmm. So that was it for you. You're like, this is it.
Yeah.
You're like, huh, I'm going to throw up, but I'm going to do it anyways.
It's kind of how I live my life.
Right.
Most of the time I'm like,
winging it.
Scared.
Cool.
Throwing up over here.
You're like, I might throw up, but I've got it. So walk me through like your journey. Walk me through like you started to take models, you started to do MBR. Did you keep all your services? Did you notice growth like quickly or slowly? Like how was your experience?
Yeah, I would say I kind of call it drinking the Kool-Aid.
I'm like making the Kool-Aid at my house. I'm like, does anyone want
the
some?
other day you were like, I'm going to make the Kool-Aid. I'm like, well, if you're making it, maybe I'll drink it.
Right.
So
I got to bring Kool-Aid pouches to convention. I'm like, here, Kool-Aid for you, Kool-Aid for everyone.
Everybody's getting Kool-Aid.
Yeah, right. I actually don't really like Kool-Aid.
Oh, no.
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I said it. I don't like Kool-Aid. I think it tastes yuck.
Yeah.
But this Kool-Aid is real good.
I think that, to be honest, I actually just recently was like, I think I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid. Like,
after you already were in the Okay.
Like I just kind of jumped in, and I've been doing NBR, and I've been building a clientele. But for me, I just haven't gone all the way with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved Garrett's first podcast. You know, our Monday meetings.
Yeah, the very first one. When
he
you
was
came back.
like, this is some Barbie doll shit, and I'm here to burn it to the ground.
You're
and I was like,
oh my gosh, yes.
I would drink that freaking Kool-Aid.
She's in. After a year and a half, she's in. Okay, but before you're all in a month ago, you actually committed to, signing up over a year ago. So let's back up a little bit inside of, like when you started doing MBR, did you notice a huge shift in your business or even in your mindset, really?
A big shift in my business. I think that I have shifted my business slowly. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of hairstylists live in a little bit of fear.
Yeah.
Of like, if I let these clients go, how do I make a living? And I'm the breadwinner. Mm-hmm. And so it could be a little unnerving to be like, jump in.
Yeah.
And so I really needed to do the numbers. I needed to like wade in the water and then go into my knees and then kind
baby
of be
steps.
Like, yeah.
Like I'm just little baby steps.
Yes.
Good. Okay. So if you look back on like your journey and look back at yourself a year and a half ago, are you like, damn, like I am a completely different person? Like who was that bitch? Like,
yeah, totally.
Kind of like a little bit like you're trying to hide and you're like, oh my gosh, who was that? Why did I do that? Why did I allow that? What was I doing?
Yeah, I think that
should have worked at McDonald's. Like,
I think that it just, it takes some moxie to, get out there, put yourself out there, charge the higher prices, change your business, even looking at hair as a business, like you're the CEO of your company.
Yeah.
And treating it more like figuring out how much I'm actually making, how much I'm spending, all of those things. I've always been business-minded because I have a business degree. Mm-hmm. But I think that when I do hair, I turn into this, like, artist.
You're all, look at me.
I'm an artist, Mom.
You're like, look at my pretty picture.
And it's so just, like, it's mainly, like, the fear of, like, if I charge more, people will leave me or they will think I don't care about them. Mm-hmm. But I think what really changed it for me was, like, I didn't go on a vacation for like 8 years. And I just was like, my health started deteriorating.
It sounds like you were miserable.
And I literally was like, I think that I might just go get a regular job and that might kill my soul. But it's either that or my body. And I'm not sure which one to sacrifice. Soul, body.
Oh my gosh. Well, do you know what's sad is I truthfully feel like so many hairstylists you hear it's like a slogan or whatever the word is like beauty school dropout or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's because you get doing hair and because you start to do hair and you really love it. And then you realize, like, I'm not making any money. I'm working myself to death. I'm never at home. And when I am at home, I'm a raging bitch. Like, and then you're like, something has got to give. And in your mind, it's your job. Because in your mind, like, your job is making you this way. This isn't fun like you thought it would be. So I'm going to quit.
Well, and what I've noticed, like, because I have been doing hair for a while.
Been around the block.
When I'm experiencing burnout is when I need to raise my prices.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I just raise my prices every year now. But when I was, like, resenting clients or feeling burned out or just not enjoying doing hair anymore, I needed to raise my prices. And when I do that, it's like all of a sudden, I'm really motivated to go to work.
You're like, that's crazy. I love going to work now that I raised my prices.
But it's true.
It is true. Okay, so have you had to, like, fire clients?
Oh, yeah.
You have? Okay, tell me about that. How'd that go? Okay, I have a better question for you first. So,
I'm like, what if they're listening? No, just kidding.
I mean, she's doing great without you. Just kidding. She misses you. It's fine. Unless you want NBR. So let's look at, say, like 2 or 3 years ago, even 5 years ago. If I told you to, like, fire your clients, what would you have done?
I think, though, before I found NBR, I started the journey of treating it like a business.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And
you're one step ahead of all of us.
Yeah, I, like, doubled my color prices and
really just went to town.
Yeah, and I did. I lost clients, but the clients that stayed were more aligned, and I was making way more money. So a lot of times we don't take that into consideration. Like, if you're losing some clients, you're still making the same amount of money because you raised your price.
Yes.
But you actually get to work less and make the same amount.
What's funny is I remember somebody saying to me once, because I was not like you. I was like, haha, no. Like, I'm not doing that. I'll just secretly not book them so that they won't be upset. I'm like, because I do not like confrontation. And so what's funny is Danielle always says, like, conflict avoider, not, like, people pleaser or confrontation. I'm like, oh, I'm such a conflict avoider. I'm like, it's fine. So that was actually really hard for me. And I'm sure for a lot of people, like, it's really hard also to fire clients. But, like, you're absolutely right. If you're raising your prices, those clients are going to drop off. But if you have your dream clientele in mind, like, those people are willing to pay. And, like, how many percentage, if you were to guess, when you raised your prices, were you surprised at how many people stayed?
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
I kind of thought you'd all leave.
Yeah. And then I raised my prices again. And then I raised my prices again. And then I just raised my prices. My color prices are
again
higher because I'm
busy,
really trending into doing NBR only is what I want. So, yeah.
So basically you're killing it. Again, I don't know if we said this in this podcast already, but she did become licensed how long ago? A couple months ago?
No, a year.
A year.
Last convention, like 4 days before convention.
Oh, yes, you did graduate last year. I remember you walking because you did that dance move.
Yeah, how could you forget? I dropped it low.
I did not realize I could forget that. Now I'm remembering. Okay, yeah. So I've done so many calls. So I'm like, when's everybody graduating? So yeah, a year ago. Honestly, how did you feel when you did graduate?
Fucking awesome.
She did so awesome. She literally walked right down the catwalk and dropped it all the way down and came all the way back up. Honestly, that's talent.
Well, I think that I chose NBR because the education is more extensive. And about 2.5 years ago, there was no really other lines even doing education opportunities. And I knew I needed more than just a 1 or 2 day whatever class. I wanted to learn the whole, like, you can't be successful just with a method too, like the whole business side and the accountability and actually like having to turn your work in and making sure your beads look a certain way. And that's really like what, and trust, because when I first like was signing up for Academy, I was like pooping my pants because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this at all. And then I just got to say to my friend to fly down here, I was like, I got to fly in my hotel, and that's like, oh, I make that in a day now. And before it was like I would have to fly, I'd have to put on my credit card, and then I'd be sweating. And then so I did all of these decisions. Academy was one of those decisions where you're just kind of like, you're sweating, you don't know where the money is going to come from, and you're kind of betting on yourself, which is really hard to do sometimes.
Yeah.
Because we don't believe in ourselves enough.
Right.
Or we know, like, okay, I'll get into there. A hairstylist can be a little like, I'm going to do it. And then they get it kind of flaky. They're like really like fired up at first, like, yeah.
I'm telling you, hairstylists were a bunch of crazy bitches. Like,
and then I was like, consistency is the key.
Yes.
Sticky with it, going all the way.
Do you know what got me is like, I'm like a go big or go home, like all in or all out. I usually start something, and if I'm like, no, this isn't for me, I literally am like, boop, never mind. I don't even try because it's like, oh, this is too much work. But when I joined, Danielle was like, it's the little consistencies, like pick something little. And I'm like, little? I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? I'll just do little things. And then soon, like those little things became a habit. And then I looked back, I'm like, man, I don't know how I stuck to that.
I think that my process with that is it's all or nothing mindset can be kind of toxic sometimes because you get so anxious. If I go all the way, with this, and that's maybe why I've tiptoed into the water, is like, how do you make these big decisions about your business without all the anxiety?
Yeah.
And so I just like dialed my anxiety back and was like, I am going to do these changes. And it's so crazy because you can make one decision. Today, I'm going to raise my prices. And then that kind of like emboldens you to make the next decision.
Well, what happens is you raise your prices and people don't react how you tell yourself they're going to react. And so then you're like, oh, well, that wasn't so bad. And then you're like, what else can I do? And then you think of something else like raising them again or cutting out men's cuts or doing whatever. And then you do it again and it wasn't as scary. And so you're like, oh, these are not scary things. But now, like the decisions that you made 5 years ago, all the decisions that you're making now would have been so scary to you. You're like, I can't do any of that. I'm going to sit in my room and cry.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing about NBRs. It's going to push you as a human being.
Yeah.
Like we kind of think that the business world and the personal world are not
separate.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this is over here. That's fine. That's my business. It's like, no, they bleed together.
They do.
And if I'm going to grow in my business, I have to grow in my like stamina, work through fear, work through money, how I look at money. That's been a huge one. Like,
yeah,
you could take the girl out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the girl. That's me. Like,
You're like, no, I can't.
Growing up super poor and being like, I always dreamed of being this big money stylist.
But you're like, I wish that could be me.
Yeah. And then you get there and you're like, do I deserve this? Do I belong here? Can I do this? And it's like, yeah, you fucking can.
Yeah. So if you could tell anybody that is either considering or not considering, or if they do hair, because I mean, I know I do this, like any person that I see that does hair, I'm all, you should do MBR. And they're like, okay. I get real excited about it. And I mean, I'll talk about MBR, but I talk about like the lifestyle changes. So if you were to tell somebody that's listening, like, and they're just starting the podcast and you're the first one they hear, what would you say?
Sorry. No, just kidding.
She's not sorry.
Sorry. What would I say? I would say, like, if they're thinking about the journey, I'm kind of the opposite. Like, when girls come to me, they're like, I want to go to beauty school. What do you think? I'm like, it's harder than you think.
Yeah, it is.
And it takes a lot of commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, building your own clientele is brutal sometimes. It's
hard.
So, like, I would say the same to someone considering MBR is just, like, you got to find your why.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Why do I want this? Why? Because that's going to, like, hold you when you're like, oh, this is dumb. Why did I sign up? Because honestly, when
how many moments of those did you have? A million?
So many. Because it was kind of like starting over. Like, I was a really great colorist.
Yeah.
But then now you're coloring extensions.
And you're like,
and now
do
you're
I
like,
do hair?
The color on their hair has to match the extensions.
Back to McDonald's we go.
You're like,
right.
I was like, oh, geez, I feel like I'm a little bit starting over.
Yeah.
Not now, but in the beginning.
Which is a very humbling experience because you have to, when you start NBR and you start over, you're like, I am trash. Like, I can't do this. This is hard. You color your first weft thinking you nailed it. And then you hold it up and you're like, well, I can't use that. It's garbage.
Didn't nail it.
Did not nail it. Did not nail it. Exactly.
But I remember, so when I started at my salon and all these girls, I really looked up to them. They were doing these, like, gorgeous balayages. I would, like, go home and cry and be like, I don't balayage the way that they do. Right. And then, so I kind of realized, and now I can, like, balayage and I'm like, psh, psh, psh.
Right.
So it's kind of the same with NBR. Like, sometimes, especially because I've been doing hair so long, you just think it's going to be easy. Yeah, keep rubbing it in my face.
15 years.
Like, oh, I should know this. I should know how to do this. But you are starting over.
Right.
And so I would just say, be ready to commit and know your why, because, like, there's going to be bumps in the road and you're just going to have to remember, oh, I got into this because for me, I have, like, a really messed up knee. It's bone on bone.
Okay.
And so I can't work like I used to behind the chair.
I mean, I don't have messed up knees. Maybe I do, really. Maybe that's my problem. But it's true. Like, I find once I started working, like, less days behind the chair than I used to, I was like, damn. Like, and then if I ever go back, like, sometimes when I come here, I'll take days off and I'll make up for it when I get back. I've only done it a handful of times, and I regret it every time because I'm like, I can't do more than 2 or 3 clients in a day because I am wiped.
Yes.
I go home and I'm back to that, like, ragey bitch because I'm like, I'm so tired. My kids are like, Mom, do you want to play? I'm like, don't talk to me. I'm so tired. And sometimes you're just like, why did I do that to myself? And then you wonder, how the freak did I do this for so long, working 10 days a week, 80 hours a day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, too, like, I've gotten older.
15 years.
It becomes, like, it's not a choice anymore.
Right. Right.
Like, my body's like, yeah, no,
Your body kicks in and it's like, hi, no, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
So it came at such a good time. Okay, can I ask you what your why is? Is that a thing?
My why?
Yeah.
Well, I think...
I mean, you could paraphrase if you don't want to get real deep.
Oh, I go deep all the time.
We're going deep. Here we go.
Well, I think that... Well, the biggest why has been my body, because I need a knee replacement I just turned 38. And I need a knee replacement.
You said you were old.
Yeah.
I just would like everyone to know that she thinks she's old and she just told us she's 38. So she's not old.
No, just my body feels old sometimes.
15 years of doing hair has taken a toll on you, standing all day for 10 hours a day or more.
Yeah. And I wanted a lifestyle where I could work 3 days a week and still make the money I need to make. And I also just got tired of not going on vacation, not being able to do things, not being tired all the time.
So you're a slave to your job.
Yeah, and it affects everything. Like, you don't have the energy to, like, be with your family. You don't have the energy to, like, go work out, or, like, so your health gets worse. And it's just, like, this crazy, like, snowball effect. And so I just kind of got serious about it. And then I also like the pretty hair.
So the driving factor for your why of, like, I cannot quit, like, sink or swim, and I obviously am not going to sink. So my only choice is to just go power through it. And really, you're just like, yeah, no, my body, like, I can't take it. And it's funny because once you kind of see the MBR way, like, even if you're not fully committed yet, you're like, one little toe, then I'm going to put my foot in, then I'm just going to keep going. But you start to realize that you can't look back because you're like, what I was doing was not working for me at all. And regardless of if I'm jumping all in or if I'm baby toeing it in, you just look back and you're like, I can't do that. You can't go backwards, no matter what you do.
Yeah, I think what's hard is a lot of companies are promising things, and then you just kind of hear it and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it does take work, I think all the things that I've been learning through the academy and since the academy is just gold. It's straight gold.
Yeah.
So
So how many days a week do you work right now?
3 days a week.
So that was your goal. You hit your goal.
Yeah.
Great day.
Yeah. And I only work like 6, maybe 8 hours a
like
day.
2 or 3 clients a day ish.
Sometimes 1 if I want.
See, but you want to, and you're like, I can afford to do that. It's fine.
Yeah.
Cool. So, totally off topic, sort of. When you started like actually becoming successful through all of your hard work, what's the first thing you bought that you're like, I bought this by myself, and I don't even care?
My car. Yeah. It's not like fancy. I mean, when I
Whatever,
think
you
of
bought
fancy
it.
cars.
You're like, dang, I bought this by myself.
But it's just a Toyota RAV
Doesn't
hybrid.
matter.
I love
That's
it.
what you wanted.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's like a Darth Vader helmet.
I love that for you. I love that for you.
But yeah, I think that, coming from poverty
Mm-hmm.
and then like coming out of poverty, you kind of like buy things that you can't afford sometimes. So to actually
Make yourself feel better.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
you kind of don't feel better, right?
No, you feel
because
worse.
You're in debt and
Yeah.
all of the things.
Oh, 100%.
And so, I mean, besides paying off my car, I'm debt free, and that's a different life. Like if I want or need something, I go and buy it,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a savings account. Like things that seem very grown up, but like I didn't have that extra money. It was always like, well, I'll pay this month, and then maybe I'll pay this other bill this next month, and that's what like the stress of living like that was
Mm-hmm.
why I was like, I have to get out of hair. Like, it's killing me.
Yeah. Are you glad you didn't?
So glad.
You're like, I can do killer hair working 3 days a week, and I don't have any debt besides my car, and I'm doing whatever I want.
Yeah, and I love doing hair.
Yeah, right. You're like, well, because you didn't want to quit in the first place. You're
Yeah.
like, I never wanted to quit. I just physically couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah, I actually used to be a computer tech.
What?
I did digital x-ray systems,
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
and I just was like, I
can't
don't
even-
want to do this.
Yeah, you're like, this is trash.
Definitely not my passion.
I can't even figure out how to restart my computer half the time. So.
That's me now.
Okay,
I mean,
for-
like, this is like 16 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, 15
Yeah.
plus beauty school, something like that, So it's been a while.
It's been a minute.
Computers have changed. And
Oh,
I'm like
yeah.
that person that's like, can you help me with my phone?
Yeah. Cool. Well, so I'm glad we all got to get to know April a little bit more. Wrapping up a little bit, so convention is coming, and you're going,
Yes.
and you're going to License Artist Day.
Of course.
Great day. I don't know how much I can and can't share about License Artist Day, but we're just gonna wing it because no one's in here to tell us we can't. So I know that you kind of had a part. I'm trying to like say it without saying it in case it's a secret, but you kind of had a part to play in License Artist Day because, like, okay, so what I'm getting at is you became licensed, and then that was like the end step for you, right? And then you're like, well, but I still want more. Like,
Yeah.
I want more. And even though the academy is an extended education, like, you're like, wait, well, but now that I finished it, now what? So,
Yeah, I kind of started getting like trainer envy.
you're like, well, but I want to do that.
I want to be at that level even if I'm not a trainer.
Yeah.
I want my end beads to be the prettiest thing you've ever seen in your whole life.
So pretty. I'll just comment on your feed. I'm like, gosh, that is the prettiest end bead I've ever seen. Goals.
Ding.
You're like, I can die happy. I'm so excited. Well, I'm excited for convention. I'm excited for License Artist Day because, all the things. I just can't spill it. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not going to get in trouble, but
It's going to be freaking awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
I know.
Especially because there is potential. I'm just going to say it. There's just potential to then become a trainer and to advance in the academy or like go into mastermind at a level that because you're producing so much at this point. Like obviously mastermind wasn't for you at the beginning because you're like, I I don't know what that means. I don't keep track of my numbers, or maybe you did, but like blah, blah, blah. And then now that you're at the point where you're like, okay, now I want more. I finished all of that. I didn't think I would finish it, but I finished it. And now what? So that's really
I think
exciting.
the coolest part about NBR that I've experienced is when I've actually used my voice to voice what I need.
And look what happened.
The company always listens.
Yes.
And I was so afraid at first to even say anything. And then it was like, oh, yeah, cool. Let's do that. And I was like, whoa.
You're like, wait, what? We can? Okay.
It's such like a big company, but they really care. They really listen. And I'm glad I'm experiencing that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it too. So I'm going to try to wrap up like Danielle. Let's see if I nail it. And then Danielle's going to watch it and be like, Sarah, you're fired. Yeah, so Academy Convention is in April. You do, I was going to say you do realize we are actually doing some public tickets this year, which I'm excited about. Because, you know, that's exciting, especially because you remember where you were at in the first. You're like, oh, this is so fun. It's so exciting. Do I want the Kool-Aid? Do I not want the Kool-Aid? Do I even like Kool-Aid? You know, so that's really exciting. April is, like I said, as of 1 year ago, a licensed artist. She finished and graduated the program, so to clap for her. Other than that, any last words?
I just think that the more you believe in yourself, the more you're going to be able to take the risks to change your business and have the life that you want. So don't be afraid to go after that.
I can't even say anything after that. Boom. Done. Boom.